بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, inshallah, I would like to carry on our series of talk regarding Musa alayhi salatu wassalam and how Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, through the will of Allah, managed to save the Banu Israel from the oppression. Now, the Quran is filled with stories. Entire surah named stories. Surah Al-Qasas. And the stories from the previous Anbiya, the previous prophets, the previous nations, and the people before us. Now, it is through using the stories that Allah Azza wa Jalla in His book, in His Quran, He conveyed life lessons for all of us. Why? So that we may know the right from the wrong, and we may know where the path of righteousness leads, and we take heed of the path of falsehood. And Musa alayhi salatu wassalam's story is not mentioned only once in the Quran, but it's the most frequently mentioned story in the Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم نتلو عليك من نبأ موسى وفرعون بالحق لقوم يؤمنون. We recite to you from the news of Moses, Musa and Fir'aun in truth for a people who believe. And as I mentioned, this is the third mashallah khutbah I'm taking into explaining, especially for the youth. This is summer holiday as well, to explain the story of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, because it's a long story. And last week we focused on mentioning the adab, the etiquettes of the khutbah, and also how to spend time in holidays. So Musa alayhi salatu wasalam's life and the life of all the prophets are not just stories to entertain ourselves with. They are not tales that we tell our children to amuse them with or to put them to sleep. They are here to immortalize memory of the struggle between Allah's greatest creations against Allah's worst creation, the most stubborn one. And imagine how, when you recite the Quran, for every letter that you recite, you get how many rewards? 10 rewards. And Allah's biggest enemy amongst them, Shaitan and Fir'aun. Enemy. If somebody is mentioning my enemy or your enemy name, will you be happy? Will you reward them for that? No. So Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran, by us mentioning the word Fir'aun in the Quran or Shaitan, we are being rewarded. 10 rewards for every letter. Because the Quran is a pure word of Allah Azza wa Jal. So coming back about Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, when he was born in that era, Fir'aun ordered for all the baby boys, male, to be killed. And Allah Azza wa Jal ordered or inspired his mom in order to save him as he was a baby, to put him in a box and to put that box in the river Nile, and that landed near the palace of Fir'aun. Now, he was not a teenager, he was not an adult, he was not a child, he was not a toddler, he was only a baby. And Allah Azza wa Jal inspired his mom to put in a box. And where to put the box? In the river Nile. So you can imagine the taqwa that she had. And we learn from there that how a mother had this taqwa, we should reflect it in our life and try to bring this God-fearing and this taqwa quality also in our life, and believe and have the faith in Allah Azza wa Jal. So then he went to Madian, where Shu'aib was, and he married one of his daughters, and after 10 years he decided to come back to Egypt, and this is where we started from today. So on the way back from Madian to Egypt, Allah Azza wa Jal spoke to him, spoke to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and this is why he is known as Kalimullah, because he spoke directly to Allah, direct. And Allah gave him two miracles. One was a stick that could turn into a snake, and the other was his hand would emit a bright light when he pressed under his arm. So he was now ordered to go to Firaun and invite him to Allah. But Musa ﷺ made a request, and he asked Allah if his brother Harun could help him and fulfill this request with him, and that was accepted by Allah Azza wa Jalla. وَأَخِي هَارُونُ وَأَفْصَحُ مِنِّي لِسَانًا فَأَرْسِلْهُ مَعِيَ يَرِدْ أَن يُصَدِّقُنِي. So both brothers now went in front of Firaun and invited him to Allah and asked him to free the Banu Israel. Now Firaun organized a big demonstration or a big contest where he called all his magicians and to challenge Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. They all threw down the stick and they appeared to turn into snakes. And when Musa alayhi salatu wasalam threw down his stick, it turned into a serpent and it swallowed all the other snakes. Now the magician knew, the sahib, they knew that the Lord and the God of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was the truth. Was indeed the truth, the haqq. They knew that. But Allah Azza wa Jalla now commanded Musa alayhi salatu wasalam to warn Fir'aun of a punishment, of an adab, for his lack of iman and for the dhulm he has done to the Banu Israel. وَلَقَدْ أَخَذْنَا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ بِالسِّنِينَ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَذَّكَّرُونَ. And we seized the people of Fir'aun with years of famine and poor production of fruits, so that they may learn a lesson. So Allah Azza wa Jal caused the river Nile not to flood and it soaked dry. So all the crops failed, which led to famine. Then Firaun, he remained proud and arrogant, Takabbur. So then Allah Azza wa Jal caused a huge flood to destroy and devastate the land. The people of Firaun, now they went to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and they asked him to ask Allah, ask your Allah to remove the flood. So Musa alayhi salatu wasalam went and he made dua, he supplicated, and he asked Allah to relieve them from the suffering caused by the flood. And by his dua was accepted and the flood ceased and the land became normal. They could now even start again to grow their crops. And Musa alayhi salatu wasalam then asked them to also fulfill their side of the bargain, which was to release the Banu Israel. But the people of Fir'aun, they did not respond to this request. So then Allah Azza wa Jalla sent down another punishment to them. فَأَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمُ الطُّوفَانِ. We sent upon them the storm. وَالْجَرَادِ and locust. وَالْقُمَّلِ and lice. وَالضَّفَادِعِ and frogs. وَالدَّمْ and blood. آيَاتٍ مُفَصَّلَاتٍ. These were all signs, distinct signs for them, for each other. فَاسْتَكْبَرُوا وَكَانُوا قَوْمًا مُجْرِمِينَ. But yet they showed arrogance and they were a guilty people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I mentioned, sent down the swarms of locusts which ate all the crops that they had grown. And the people once again, they hurried to Musa alayhi salatu wassalam to ask him to make dua to Allah Azza wa Jalla, to remove this difficulty and affliction. And they promised him that the Banu Israel will be released. So the locusts went away. The locusts went away. However, once again, they did not fulfill their promise. Another sign came from Allah Azza wa Jal of lice. The lies spread among the people of Firaun, and that caused so many diseases. Once again, they came to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam seeking for help, and again with the same promise that we will free the Banu Israel. The lies went away, and once again they did not keep up to the promise. The next punishment that came was the frogs. The land of Egypt was suddenly full of frogs. Full of frogs. Jumped on their food. Was sharing the house. Causing them so much distress. And the same chain of events took place when they went to Musa alayhi salam to seek protection and ask Allah to help them, and they would remove, Allah would remove the calamity, and once again they would not keep to the promise. And the final sign was now revealed. And what happened? The river Nile turned into blood. Turned into blood. When Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and his people would drink the water of the river Nile, it would be clear, ordinary water. Subhanallah. But yet, when the people of Firaun, they fill their cups from the river, it would be full of blood. When Allah Azza wa Jal removed the calamity, they still refused to send the Banu Israel. Now Allah Azza wa Jal commanded Musa alayhi salatu wasalam to leave the land of Egypt with the Banu Israel. Because there's so many chances they have, Allah said, now you leave. So Firaun has been given chance after chance after chance, but yet he refused to believe the haqq. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam now, he led the Banu Israel out of the land of Egypt in the darkness of the night, and this is known as the Exodus. They traveled towards the Red Sea, and in the morning they reached the water, the beach. Firaun found out, and he went and assembled all the army and followed them. And the Banu Israel now, they are at the beach, at the water, and they saw the huge army of Firaun. So in front of the Banu Israel, there was a sea, which is a barrier, impassable barrier. And behind them was the army of Firaun. How could they now avoid death? And Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, he had the yaqeen, the faith in Allah Azza wa Jal, and he knew that Allah Azza wa Jal would guide him and would not leave him alone. And Allah Azza wa Jal guided him, and he said, فَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَىٰ أَنِ اضْرِبْ بِعَصَاكَ الْبَحْرَ فَانْفَلَقَ فَكَانَ كُلُّ فِرْقٍ كَالتَّوْدِ الْعَظِيمِ. So we revealed to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam saying, strike the sea with your stick, with your staff. So it was severed apart, and each part became like a big mountain. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله الذي أرسل بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه أجمعين إلى يوم الدين خصوصا على أمير المؤمنين سيدنا أبي بكر الصديق رضي الله عنه وعلى أمير المؤمنين سيدنا عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه وعلى أمير المؤمنين سيدنا عثمان بن عفان رضي الله عنه وعلى أمير المؤمنين سيدنا علي بن أبي طالب رضي الله عنه وعلى سيدنا الحسن والحسين رضي الله تعالى عنهما وعلى أمهما سيدة النساء فاطمة الزهراء رضي الله عنها وعلى عميه سيدينا حمزة والعباس رضي الله تعالى عنهما وعلى الستة الباقية من العشرة المبشرة وعلى سائر الصحابة والتابعين رضوان الله تعالى عليهم أجمعين. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم انصر المسلمين في غزة، اللهم انصر المسلمين في فلسطين، اللهم انصر المسلمين المستضعفين في السودان وفي كل مكان يا رب العالمين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله تعالى أعلى وأولى وأعز وأجل وأهم وأتم وأكبر.